Hi YouTube, it's Leanne, known as Lily Scraps. I haven't done a video in a while. I just wanted to do a video to show my progress on using my stash. That's been a focus this year. Trying to really use up a lot of stuff that I already have. I did subscribe to quite a few Hip Kip clubs. I did from September till probably January, I think. I'm not sure. I did a few months anyways to try them out, and so I did get a few new things from them. But besides that, I still had a lot of older papers and stash that I had to use up. And scraps. I am a hoarder for scraps. I cannot throw away anything. And I even keep my scraps from scraps. So I wanted to really focus on using a lot of those scraps and my stash. And so the last couple of crops I've been to, that's what I've done. I haven't bought anything new in a long time. Probably, like I said, since my last kit came in, which was January of 2018. So we're almost a year now that I haven't really bought any new papers. I have picked up some odd things like markers or mixed media or a dye or things like that. Adhesive is never included in my spending freeze because I always need adhesive. Um, but yeah, so here's a few projects I've done, and just to show you how much scraps I actually have. I kind of separate them. Some I separate them by color. Some I separate by theme, and some I separate by kind of like textures and things like that. And I separate my cardstock from my pattern papers also, because I also keep a lot of cardstock scraps. So just how I store them is I store them in, let's see if we can show you this. I have my phone on a selfie stick. So I have these iris bins, and in the iris bins I store them. And I have everything so that I can either scrapbook in my room, or if I go to a crop, which I do about 3, maybe 4 a year. And everything has to be portable because I go to these crops. Everything has to be able to fit in our vehicles because we usually are 2 in a vehicle, and if we can't just do 2, then we have to get a U-Haul because sometimes we have to be 4 in a vehicle. So if we're 4 in a vehicle, there's definitely no room for all our stuff, so we get a small U-Haul to get to the crop. And most of our crops are about an hour to 2 hours away. So, and there's a few local ones that in my town that we can go to, but it's a very small town, and there's not very many crops in the town itself. So I usually use these folders, like these 12 by 12. They're bigger than 12 by 12, and they have the snap right here. So I sort by color for my cardstock. And some of them I have singles, like I have just one for red, but like I have this brown right here on this side, and then on this side I have dark brown, like chocolate brown. So I kind of separate the chocolate brown from the milk chocolate, and then I have a separate one for craft. So and here I have turquoise on one side, and then I have orange and yellow on the other. And I just put one of those hard cardstock from pattern papers that you get. I used to do them Stampin' Up. I used to be a Stampin' Up demonstrator years ago, but I kept all these hard 12 by 12 cardstocks that the pattern papers came in because they were like sturdy, and they make great dividers. So that's how I do the cardstock. And then pattern paper, like I said, I have a couple of different ways to do it. So, summer theme and summer color. So like this one's just all purples. So it's just random purples. Actually, this one has to be fixed. It's got some blue in there. Actually, I think this is a different one. Yeah, I haven't done in a check over lately. So this is orange and yellow. I always put orange and yellow together because I never have much of either one. So I ran out of those pockets, so I just use whatever I have that's like a 12 by 12 size. So these are old page protectors from Stampin' Up, and they're pretty banged up, so I just use them to store my paper in, or I use those big Ziploc bags. So that was like orange and yellow together. This one here was a collection, but it's a couple of collections, different collections, and this is old, really old, but this was like summery stuff, and so I kept that together. And then I've been working on my Disney, and so these are all the scraps left over from that. And so it's kind of tropical, kind of jungle like, because I had done what's the one there at Disney with the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom. That's what it is. I had done Animal Kingdom, and so I kept all that kind of stuff in there, but it's still like jungly, tropically. So I just kept that by a theme. And like this side's all purple, and this side here was just, there was a mixture that I have to sort out still, but this was my purple bag. I don't know how the other ones got in there, but that's how I did those. And then I have, like, this is like a 12 by, those old 12 by, it used to come in those towers. Anyways, I had a lot of these containers. But this is, it's heavy too, like really heavy. It's, all my fall papers, and there's all my fall scraps. And I keep all my fall scraps, and I keep all my fall bits and pieces with all my old fall stash. And I even keep, like, see, it's all coming apart. And then like I have things that I've cut out that I'm not using. And so it's got all my fall papers, my old stash, and it's got all the scraps. And actually I have another bin full of scraps too, of fall. I just didn't grab it, but I do still have other pieces. And like when I work on a layout, if I have extras, like these are tiny little pieces of scraps. I kept them because you know why? They're so great for backing up cut files, which I have kept. I'm going off frame. Like backing cut files like that. And I keep even these because I love fall. Fall's my favorite for scrapbooking, and you'll see in a minute. So I kept all of those, and I even got some die cuts in here, but should be in a different area. But so I keep all those little pieces. I hate to see it go to waste because it's such an expensive hobby, and you don't want to waste any of it. So here's another bag full of pieces that are all cut up, and another bag full of pieces that are all cut up, and it kind of goes into my fallish kind of bin. And then I even have another one, big bin like this, and it's Christmas, and this is all Christmas stuff, and you can see it's just all Christmas papers and colors. And then I have another bin like this, and it's all school related, all school scraps. I haven't bought school paper in about 5 years, and I barely bought any to begin with, and I'm still reusing and repurposing all of those papers to make my school layouts. So it's just a good way to make sure you're using your money wisely, because it's not a cheap hobby. So here's a few things I've been working on this year. I've had lots of I can't think of the word. Uh, a lot of the year, my last 3 years have been spent on Disney. So I did a few Disney layout shares, and all the stuff I bought on Disney was new. That's all, like I had purchased a lot of Disney stuff. But for regular scrapbooking, I have not. And so here's a few projects that I've done using scraps. So here is some tags that I made. So some of the tags I have, like the to and from at the back, I stamped that on and just added it to the string. And then the front is layers of scraps that I use with my dies and punches. Like I just take different types of dies. So I've got like this one that has the two nesting sides, and then I have this pine leaf die, and I do my punches, and I have a wall of punches. It's like, ooh, I'm not trying to make you too dizzy there, but yeah, I love my punches. I'm not buying any more though. I refuse to buy any more punches because I have the die cutting machines, and actually I will use my Silhouette and my Cricut. Not my Cricut sometimes. I don't really use it. It's like the original Cricut that you can only use cartridges for. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. I really prefer the Silhouette, and my Silhouette's the original too. So I'm actually trying to save up to get the Cameo 3. But yes, anyways, I'm going off. But yeah, so the shapes, it's just all different layers of shapes, scallops and circles, and I think it's called peaking. And then I used an ornament die, and I just layer up and put things in between, and then a tag. So I cut out these 2-inch rectangles, and then I use my Stampin' Up! Punch that makes a die tag shape, and I just make these random cluster tags. And this one here, it's loose, like it's just like hanging there. But all these papers, every single one of these papers were all from my stash in the bin, my scraps. And so now these will make nice tags to put on gifts. Like you can put it on a wine bottle, you can put it on a bag, on a present. You can even, like, what's nice is that it can be reused because I didn't attach this, right? I left it loose, so they can take that off and reuse it, and even maybe use it as a Christmas ornament. I think it would look really pretty in the tree as a Christmas ornament. So I made a whole bunch of them. Some I stuck in the front and some I stuck in the back. So you can see I added like strips of scallop borders. And this one here I embossed through my embossing folder, the gold foil, and even that was a piece of scrap. So I did not cut into any brand new pieces of paper with these. And this is vellum, and I layered them with foam with foam dimensionals. So they're fairly thick. And so I got quite a few of them done. And these were a cutout sheet that I had in my scrap box. And it was just mix and match. So I just cut tons of shapes. I had all the shapes on my counter. And I just layered as I went and made layers. And then I glued them all together. So yeah. And another thing I did with my scraps is I have another video to show you that you can go look, which shows you how to make my Christmas ornaments, which is an a retired Stampin' Up! Ornament. And this is the perfect way to use scraps. I make them every year, and people love them. I sell them at I only do one craft show a year, and that's for the high school. It's a fundraiser, so basically I'm buying my table as to help out the school, but at the same time, I make a bit of money back by selling these ornaments and my Christmas cards. So these are it's all random papers, but in the same color family. So I just throw all these clusters together and make these ornaments, and they're all from scrap paper. And then, you know, this one here, I was able to get enough that, you know, they coordinate. This one is one of my favorites. I love this color combination. And then there's this one. And then this one here. And the tool I bought from the dollar store. So like this tool was from last year. And some of it was from the year before. So I think I only bought one brand new roll of tool this year, and that was it. And it cost me $2, and it'll last me a couple Christmases to make these ornaments. So I've been able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 done, and I could have done like at least another 10 more with what I have in my box. Actually, with what I already have pre-cut and what's still in my box, but they're time consuming. It takes me a good 2.5 hours to make it after the pieces are cut out, because I'm just really slow, because I ink all the edges. All the edges get inked. And yeah, I really take my time to make them look really nice. So I just kind of got burnt out making those. Another thing I do is like embellishment clusters with my scraps. So I'll go through, and I had made a couple of Valentine's layouts with a collection, and I had a lot of scraps left over from the Valentine's layout I made. So with all the scraps and embellishments that I had, I made a bunch of clusters for this year, you know, to put on a layout or whatever, just to have on hand. Sometimes I bring these to the crops, and I tell people if they're interested in them, like, you know, just if they want to buy one, you know, I sell them for real cheap, like, you know, $1.50, $2, and if they want to buy one. And I've actually sold about 12 of them, so I made at least $15, $18, just because they were all like, oh, these are so cool. So I was like, yeah, go ahead, I can always make more, right? Like, because they're so easy to make. And this was like, I think it's Maggie Holmes that had done these, and I made my own. It's like a knockoff, and same with these ones. And you know what? It was all scraps. And then another one here, and then another box full. So I have this one. Oops, my hearts just came off. And then this one, and this one. And I'm not a big Valentine's layout maker, so when I did cut into my papers to make my layout, I just had so much paper left, and I knew I wasn't really going to use it, so that's why I just decided to make these tags. And I always bring them to crops with me, and I love that bow punch from Stampin' Up. It's like one of my favorites. I just think it is the most cutest thing. So yeah, and oops, there's one more, and it's upside down. And even this tag was in my stash. So yeah, so these are great projects to make. And again, I made these the same as I did my Christmas ornaments. I just cut out all sorts of different shapes with my punches and dies and silhouette, and then I just layered. And then I went in through my ephemera, and again, my stash. I went through my ephemera and stickers and bling and, you know, enamel dots, and added them to it. So this is another layouts that I've done with scraps. Like I use a full sheet of cardstock for my bases and to do die cutting, but everything else was scraps. So they're such an easy way to use up your paper. So I got these done in September. I went to a crop in September, so I made these layouts in September. I should lift them up, get a better look. So there's my parents. So I, cut these all out of my scrap cardstock. I did a little bit of mixed media in the back, and I just filled it in. And you know what? You can't tell, but behind the pumpkin, it's not even full. Like I didn't have enough of this color, but I wanted this color, so I just made it so that when I put the pictures on, it didn't show that half the pumpkin's not fully covered. So you don't have to fill in the full shape. You know, it's a way to even use up little pieces of scraps, and nobody knows that you didn't fill it in the whole way. And same with this layout here. I'm going to put it down. I filled in all these little leaves with scrap pattern papers. And then I went into my embellishments and found some embellishments. This was done on a pattern paper. I think it was from a Hip Kit Club, but I'm using my stash too. So older papers. So again, the pumpkin again, I filled it in with smaller pieces of scraps. The leaf is actually, it was from a Project Life card that I cut up. So, and then, yeah, so just making my own embellishment clusters and a little bit of mixed media. And then I made a banner with, you know, pattern paper scraps. And this is a 2-page layout. It's hard to see because I can't get it all in focus, but here's this side. So there's that pumpkin again. I really like that pumpkin. That's a Paige Evans die cut. And then these are silhouette. I don't know from where. And then I don't know if these are Paige Evans leaves or not, but there's that side. And so most of these papers were from my stash. And this is the other side of the layout, so it's a double page. And I did the corn with scrap paper. And then here's another layout, all made with little pieces of pattern paper scraps. And then I did stitching, if you can see that. It's like kind of like quilting. And then I made my little cluster with die cuts and backed with pattern paper. And again, here I stitched. I did the exact same thing. I butted all the pattern papers really, really close together and then cut out a heart and then stuck it on another heart and sewed it on. And it made like I said, a quilt. So great way to use up your pattern paper scraps. And then all the leftover pictures that I had, I put into like Project Lifestyle. So I just stuck them in here, and then it's hard to see, so I just filled in the pockets like that. And then I think that, yeah, and I did this layout, but this layout is mostly mixed media. And again, I still used my stash to make that layout. This is one of my favorite layouts, actually, I've made in a long time. It was a lift from one I found on Pinterest. It doesn't quite look the same, but it's pretty close. But I think this is another Paige Evans die cut. I know I got it off the Silhouette, but it's a wonky, very messy, scribbly circle die cut. And I did major mixed media on the background and lots of messy stitching. And puts, texture. This is Missy off of YouTube. She does a lot of thread underneath for texture, and I cut this out of paper, and yeah, it's just I just love the way it turned out. And then this goes with that trip. I'm still not done her trip. It's my daughter's portage trip that she did last summer. So she this I did all from scraps. I actually paper pieced this all by hand, and I drew everything out by hand. I didn't even use the Silhouette to cut anything out. It was all paper pieced and hand drawn and then cut out. So I really love that little card. Just think it's awesome. I actually like to try making this again, but 12 by 12. I have a few other layouts that I've done for this, but she's got them in her room in shadow boxes already. And then again, same with this. This I did all by hand too. I used paper scraps and drew it out and assembled it all by hand. And then this is another layout I did that weekend. And using up my stash papers. And this paper here, this was from a paper pad that was so old that I had for so long. And same with this, the Bo Bunny dot. You can, I think you can still get it, but I had almost every single, like 4 of every color in my stash. And, you know, it's like, use it up. Can't hoard it. So this was another, I took this off of Pinterest. I think it was like 2 layouts that I combined into one. And then this layout here also goes with that same weekend. Another Paige Evans die cut. And this is all papers. Like the papers for the trailer was all scraps. And then these were from my stash, like, you know, 12 by 12 papers that I used up in Silhouette. So, and then I started more pocket pages for another, I didn't finish this one yet though. This one is still in the works. So yeah, so anyways, I just wanted to inspire everybody, you know, don't be afraid, or tempted to buy all the time. Just make what you have, make the old new again, make it look, you know, new. And it's okay to mix new with old, and I did that here in this one. Like this paper here and this paper here were from my hip kit clubs that I got from 217, and I mixed it with the old, which is the dot papers, and you know, these papers, and then these are really, really old papers from my stash. So it's okay to mix new with old, and not everything has to be brand new. So hope you can use up your papers. Here's another thing I like to do is like if I have just a little strip left, I'll just get my punch out and I'll punch shapes and throw them in here. And I have hearts in all different little shapes. And then here I have more hearts. This is my like glitter hearts, like specialty paper, like especially if it's just a little strip that's left. Well, you know what? I'm not going to throw it out, and I don't want to put just a little strip into my folders, so I just make a bunch of hearts. And I bring those to crops, and I let people pick out of them. And these are the ornaments. Look at all the ornament shapes I cut out. Like, they're all in here. So if I feel like putting an ornament together, I just go in there and look for pieces that kind of complement each other, and I throw an ornament together. And some of them are sort of started, and then I kind of play around, and everything's falling out. So I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'm going to end this, and I hope I've inspired you. And I think if I have enough courage, I might actually start doing layouts, videotaping myself doing layouts with my stash and my scraps, and showing you what I'm using and making a layout out of it. And I hope you can follow along with me and maybe participate. My goal is to do 20 layouts between now and whenever, before I buy any brand new papers. Like, I am not purchasing any brand new papers at all until I can make 20 layouts. And 20 layouts is a lot for me, because when I go to a crop, it's usually a 4-day crop, and I'm lucky to get 4 layouts done. So and I only do maybe 3 crops a year, so that's like maybe 12, 15 layouts tops in a year. So 20 layouts is a lot, but I'm not working anymore. I'm off on sick leave. And I'm going to take a year off before I start looking for another job. So I'm going to have a little extra time on my hands to scrapbook now. So maybe I will be able to get those 20 layouts done. And I thought, well, maybe if I videotape it and make it a series. So maybe videotape the 20 layouts, and they'll give me 20 videos for YouTube. And also I'm hoping to apply for some design teams and making videos, you know, would help give me a better advantage to get on these design teams. So wish me luck. I'm still a little nervous about doing that, and maybe you'll see me in the near future. All right, take care. Bye.